Good morning to another episode of Crypto Posse. Thank you very much. So, let's just jump right in. Jeff, what do you got for us today?
Well, today I got this Lazarus group affiliated with North Korea has now placed them around third as the largest Bitcoin holder per country.
Affiliated with North Korea?
Yeah, affiliated with North Korea.
Holy communist freak show. Really?
Yes, and this came from the Bybit hack of $1.5 billion,
Wow.
which this group has done before. This is about the fifth hack stemming back from 2019.
And they're called what? They're called Lazarus Group?
Lazarus Group, affiliated with North Korea. So 40 million has been since recovered. 20%, which would be about 300 million, has gone dark, which means it's presumed that it's gone into the Korean military.
Oh my gosh.
When Bybit was converting 401,000 Ethereum is when they did attack that, to where they changed some numbers around. However they do it, they hacked it and got Ethereum, because there's people watching, because a public wallet, then watching convert Ethereum to Bitcoin and then trying to get it into assets, military as well.
Let me ask you this real quick. How does that affect us? Like, say, for instance, as we understand crypto, tell me if I'm wrong, but crypto kind of, is borderless, right?
Yeah, and I think it's harder because it's not, just the United States. So now it's worldwide crypto warfare. How you even think about getting it back? So you're just kind of playing the game back to try to get it back. It's quite interesting.
How does that affect us here? Say, for instance, you're trading here. How does that affect an American? What's going on with the Lazarus Group and all their scammy manipulation is what it sounds like to me.
I would think it'd be security issues, where you're keeping your money. So, like, if this was a smaller exchange and you had your money on it and it could not get the funds back, the exchange could be done for. So, they had some investors, Bybit, to help them recover these funds so far to keep pushing forward. So I think that's an issue too. It also takes down the fear index, or raises it up, I should say, for trading in the markets.
Fear index meaning something along the lines of people feeling secure, where they might, right?
Overall,
it increases the risk, right?
Yeah, and it's in our minds, so it creates this index of a higher level, which is like, oh, should I buy something? Is it secure today? This has happened before, and it's been fixed. It's gone away. Solana had it back in 2019 or 20. They completely tanked. It came back. They fixed the problem. This has happened before, but this group is definitely notorious. This is about the fifth one. There was a KuCoin, I believe, was $600 million. And that was I'm trying to think of the year. I don't remember the year, but they did recover that through KuCoin. There was an Upbit in 2015 that was 41 million that they've been a part of. So they've had, definitely data going back to where this has happened through this group.
So do those numbers represent where, like, someone's killing it? Someone's pulling in some serious cashish. Is that kind of the vibe I got here? Like, this whole thing is like someone is manipulating something to, like, walk away, being able to surf for the rest of their life.
Well, yeah, and it's a group, and it's the thing of it is they keep doing it because they keep getting away with it. Even if it gets taken back, there's nothing bad is happening to them. They're going to keep going on with this. And what's interesting is, North Korea is a communist country, so there is no cryptocurrency for the people. But yet this group is, they're trying to probably put it into the military, I would guess.
Damn.
So that's what's quite interesting. There's a crypto investigative group called the Liptic that's been following their transactions. So they even have some of the public that are following their wallet. And I think there's some sort of incentive. If they're tracking the wallet and they see something and send it into this agency to where they get a little cut of what they're getting back if it leads to something they're following on the wallet to retrieve the money. So they're definitely being monitored 24 hours at this
So is
point.
there like some sort of like crypto cops? You've heard of RoboCop, right? Is there a crypto cop? Is there crypto cops? Is there crypto sheriffs because it's global or whatever? Like, can people get away with this? And is there a governing body that would like put them in jail, or would they get their money back? Or, I mean, is this just a free for all? And like, we should go to North Korea and rob these people?
Well, I don't think there is because it's worldwide. I mean, I don't think anything is set up in place. I mean, that's like, it reminds me of something like a NATO. Like I just don't see that happening. Now it's basically just a battle. So we have, agencies here and companies that track and try to, work on the cybercrime, but it's to no avail at some point.
So it's really hard to police that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And they're doing what they can. If they see, because it's a public wallet, they're going to try to block any type of transaction, recover it. So it's basically,
Okay.
Us versus them at this point. And who's
Interesting.
better?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Will and Mike, any thoughts on the subject?
I was wondering what's more dangerous, North Korea having Bitcoin or a nuclear arsenal?
Yeah. Well, maybe this Bitcoin. Speaking as that Jeff was saying, it might go to the military. Maybe maybe their crypto feeds whatever kind of military. That's scary, right? If it did go toward bombs or planes or whatever they're doing. But I don't know. Will, what do you think?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in what Jeff just shared because crypto is considered the wild, wild west, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice. Yes and no. Like nice, but then again, maybe scary, but nice, too, right?
Man, inject that fear because you already know what I'm gonna do because we buy fear and we sell greed. If you could just follow that indicator, you're golden, you're profitable. But here's the reality. This is the cryptosphere, right? And it's called the blockchain. But when do people actually back engineer that and call it chain block? So all this information that Jeff is sharing, you could see it. It's public information, right? And the most interesting thing that came to my mind listening to Jeff was, okay, so we've got the United States that has about 197,000 Bitcoin. How did they acquire that? Well, they acquired it through confiscation and law. Now you're bringing up the eastern side of the world, right? And how are they acquiring this Bitcoin? Well, they're stealing it. So how is it that all these countries are acquiring this digital gold, because we're in the digital gold rush, but they're not even paying for it? How does that happen?
Wow.
That blows my mind.
Wasn't there only a certain amount of Bitcoin made in the first place?
Dude, I love that you brought that up because there's only and will only be 21 million Bitcoin.
Ever?
And then ever. Like you can't create any more. And
Oh.
that's what creates the value, right? You're
Yeah.
talking about economics 101.
Yeah. Yeah, like
So
when they
Supply
print
and
money,
demand.
like when they keep printing
Exactly.
money, it devalues the money. So we hear about economy, right? We get in
Exactly.
trouble, they print money, it devalues the money. So what you're saying is they made 21 million Bitcoin and that's it, player. That's all you're getting. So that creates the incredible supply and demand situation where, it just keeps jumping up or whatever, it goes up and down. But I mean, in the big picture, people feel like, if Bitcoin's somewhere around a 90 to 100 now, 1,000, then, and it goes up to whatever. But with that said, I mean, it's another thing, but that's why I feel like that's like buying gold. It's this solid standard. It's probably not going to, but there's things out there that could do a 280X. Right. but
Right.
probably Bitcoin's not going to, at this stage, at this price, isn't going to do a 280x, which does come back to the fact that they only made 21 million in the first place. And back to you. I didn't want to take over your deal, you know?
No, it's all good, man. I love that you're adding to, right? We're never interrupting. We're always building on what these self-taught people are.
Yeah.
That's all we are, right? We're
Yeah.
self-taught. We're shooting the shit. We're sharing
Yeah.
information. But
100%.
here's the badass part of it, though, is as we're shooting the shit about crypto, we're also learning,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
educating ourselves.
I certainly am. You know, I come in with mainly questions. I don't have a lot of answers, but I might be a guy with questions. Hopefully, I represent a large swath of the public who, everywhere I go all day long, has nothing but questions. Not too many people are coming in super hot on the, you know, absolute knowledge about it. But I believe there's millions and millions of people that are interested in crypto, but that don't necessarily have that much knowledge. They have the fear because they don't know if it's something they can actually tangibly get back out. And so that's why maybe our show has such potential, is because maybe we can really talk to those people and find that audience and help them in their life, you know, which why we developed the Crypto Posse. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And please use the comment section below to ask questions, because by asking questions, not only are you growing as a person, educating yourself, but I'm learning with you too. I'm not a know-it-all. You know,
Yep.
even though I've been in the crypto space since 2018, dude, this shit changes daily.
Yep.
It's so challenging if you don't know where to begin, how to even keep up with the speed of light. How
Oh
do you
my
keep up
gosh.
with, all these transactions that are happening? How do you keep up with these countries that are hacking? And, there's just a lot that goes into this, but
Yeah, that's an incredible potential for a segue moment, because with that topic, I can now turn to you, Mike, and say, what do you got for us this morning, mister?
Being a fairly new trader myself, I wanted to try to give a little bit of insight on, you know, how to prepare yourself if you want to engage in trading cryptocurrencies. So,
Cool.
the first thing I would say would be to research the terminology, because if you don't understand what they're talking about and the wording and the slang, then you're just going to be lost when you read news, go, listen to analysis and try to understand the crypto space in general.
So I
So
feel like what you're saying with that is get yourself hip to the crypto lingo.
yeah, for sure would be the first thing. And then, after you research the terminology and kind of familiarize yourself with the wording, then I would say to do commit yourself to doing in-depth reading and familiarizing yourself with the market. That way you can, understand where you're going to be if you even want to trade. It's definitely a complex learning curve to, getting into this, engaging in it, having the ability to understand what's going on, and then, wanting to be able to enter the market and potentially have a chance to make money, but understanding the volatility and that it's a very risky market as well.
Yeah, every single day of my life, as I'm out there in the world at the post office, or yesterday, for instance, I was at the post office wearing my Crypto Posse shirt. I was mailing you guys your shirts, okay? And this guy looks over and boom, says something to me about, he sees it and he starts flapping and rapping, and it's straight out. It's just like that stuff's going on all the day. And I said to him, well, hey, on the back of my shirt, I got the QR code. And he goes, I don't have my phone on me. So I flip out my card and I go, check out the show, because he's one of so many people I see on a daily basis that are like, as soon as they see the shirt, they're like, hey, what's up? They want to know. There's so many people that want to know. There's so many people in the space, exactly what you're talking about, Mike. So if our show can help those people out, bring it.
No, for sure. It's definitely, there's definitely a high learning curve to engaging in selling, buying and selling cryptocurrencies and trading. So, what I would say to do would be, go on some different websites. You could go on YouTube, CoinGecko, Coin Compare, Coin Market Cap, and do reading, a lot of reading news articles and listening to analysis, and just kind of build that fundamental knowledge of the space and see if it resonates with you, and if you want to jump in.
So let's think about, like, just let's play around with this idea real quick. So, like, say for instance someone doesn't know much, but they really do want to kind of get in and play with it, right? Say if they had 10 grand put aside in their life that was their savings, and I would just myself say maybe you're willing to take 5 grand of that 10 grand that's not going to be paying your rent, that's not money outside the loop of your survival, your savings. Maybe you would take 50% of that and play with crypto. And then maybe you would take percentages of that 50. So that's 5 grand. Maybe you would take 1,000 a couple times and put it on something real solid like Bitcoin or something that's just real, like buying gold, just not real risky. It's going to be fairly solid depending on your entry point. And then maybe you take 2,000 or 3,000 and decide to go, well, maybe I want to roll the dice on something. It's a little more risky, but there's a lot more potential. So you kind of leverage your ability to like not take total risk. Of course, that strategy is up to each individual, how they like to do it, which I feel is a great discussion for us at a different time, is personal investment strategies in terms of the percentage you're willing to, like people do with stocks, they do blue chip, they do more risky, they do a certain percentage. Some people go all in big risk. Some people go to the horse track and put $1,000 on one horse to win. I mean, some people go and put $5 on 2 different horses to, it's just, everyone's got a different strategy. But the entry point is a huge discussion. Great topic today. Love where you're going. You guys got any feedback on Jeff or Will about the, this whole entry point thing?
Well, entry point is very, very important. It's when you start making money, hopefully immediately. What I wanted to say, what I've noticed with most beginning traders, they typically, whether it's Coinbase, Robinhood, more of a basic exchange. I notice when they buy crypto, they kind of just leave it. They're not actually trading it with the market. They just kind of leave it.
They come and go long.
It's more of like a savings account.
Okay.
So I notice they're the ones that aren't, following the trends. Whether you're taking Ethereum and trying to get into HBAR or whatever it may be, they just kind of leave it. Because when I do have discussions with friends, that's typically what they're doing. Back to what Mike was explaining.
Well, that's more considered like position trading rather than like day trading or, range trading, where you're trying to trade within a range of, you're trying to buy at support and sell at resistance. You're trading in that range. So, one thing to understand is, just like you talked about, Joseph, in regards to Bitcoin, and large cap and mid cap coins tend to be more stable, but maybe don't have the upside potential as some of the small caps. So, that's something to keep in mind as a first-time trader too, of, kind of familiarizing yourself with different coins, finding projects that resonate with you, and then studying them and kind of get in the market and just watch what they do and kind of understand the characteristics of and the trading range that they trade in. Right now the market's in kind of a tight trading range. For instance, Bitcoin's kind of trading in the 81 to 84, 85 range. So it's a fairly tight range. And I think it's the market's kind of in a cautious period right now because we got some financial information coming out and monetary policy coming out real soon.
Yeah. Wasn't Bitcoin up to almost like somewhere around 100,000 recently?
Yeah, the high was I think inauguration day it went up to 109 was the high, and it's kind of obviously dipped since then, and then had a few runs, and I think it's touched the 90s, 95 about a week and a half ago, 10 days.
Is 109 the highest it's ever been?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, so on Trump's inauguration day, Bitcoin reached the highest it's ever been so far to date.
Yes,
yeah. Wow, that's interesting. And then, so it fluctuates in there somewhere between mid 70s and 100-ish now. right? We know back it was, it's gone through all the highs and lows it does, but I mean, yeah, that would be like a solid state thing that I think I like what you guys talk about when you say a company has what it performs, like what it does, like what is the company about? Just like stocks, like really smart stock guys study not just the numbers, but the service that the company provides.
That's a really good point because you're talking about value, which is exactly what we're offering people is we're bringing value to people, helping educate people. And man, I love a lot of what Mike touched on too, because what it sounds like to me is if you're going to invest into any asset, it sounds like you would want to invest into yourself first. Do your research like Mike was sharing, because you've got little terms like one of them is DYOR. What does that mean? Do your own research, right? Or
Kind of like
what
BYOB, but a little different, right? That was bring your own beer. This is do your own research, right? I like it. It's very similar, but much more productive. Yeah.
exactly. And then what Mike was also sharing too is another one, and you were touching on it too, Joseph, which is DCA, dollar cost average, right? So by investing into yourself, you're going to pick up on this language or these key terms that you'll find in the wild, wild west crypto sphere, right? And then, and I love because I swear Mike was reading my mind because I wanted to touch on what you brought up, Joseph, which is like treating it like a savings account, right? So for the new investor, after doing your research, and like as Mike mentioned, find projects that resonate with you. Do your research on who created that, right? Because if you did a little bit of research, right, and it starts to get very volatile as you go from the large cap, the mid cap, and the small cap. When you go down to small caps, you have to do your research. Because what if you just spent 5 or 10 minutes researching the creator or the developers, right? A team. And what if you found before you invest into it that the team or developers are known for scamming? Are you going to invest into that?
I personally
But
wouldn't because I'm all about honor and integrity. So
right.
probably the number one thing to me is that, like as soon as I feel like there's a scammer vibe, I'm out.
But how would you know? You would know by doing your own research.
Incredible point. Incredible. You don't hear a lot about that so much when you talk. People's fears are typically maybe tech because they're not that smart tech, or they're just because they don't know what's up, or the volatility. But man, that is one heck of a point, Will.
Right. And the last little part that I'd like to touch on in regards to what Mike was touching on or sharing, which is diversification, right? You want to diversify, but you don't want to spread or put too many eggs in too many baskets, especially when you're new to investing.
So let's say, for instance, I talked about that $10,000 fund. Break that down a little bit. What makes sense to you in terms of, I know it's different for everybody, but I like the point you're saying. Let's take 10 grand and play with that.
Right. So, and I would love to go deeper into this topic,
Sure.
right? Because it is in regards to strategy. But this is what I would do, right? And this is
Okay.
definitely not financial advice,
Absolutely. We don't do that
but
on this show. That is not what we're doing.
this is what I would do, right? So you go put your 10 grand and it's sitting in the bank, right? Well, what's the bank doing with your money? It's lending it out 10 different ways. They're making money on your money, but you don't get shit in return.
Yeah, they give you the smallest little slice,
Oh
right?
man,
I mean,
sounds like
on 10 grand, what would that be? Like, what would the bank give us right now on our 10 grand?
Probably like a quarter
The
of
savings is like
1%,
it's 1%. It's like
So
nothing.
let's do the math. So that would be
pennies.
in a year.
Yeah, pennies,
Oh,
man. And I actually had somebody that I knew personally
wow.
that did this. He put $1 million in the bank and let it sit for a year.
How much did he get?
Dude, he got a couple $100.
Come on.
And
Like
and
there's
another thing too, if you didn't even trade and you put it into USDC, you're still almost getting 5%. So think about that. That would
Okay,
be
so
equivalent to like a CD.
so if
That's
you put $1 million in a year, you'd get 50 grand on the
Close to.
5%. Whatever, 40 or
And
50. I'm just claiming with that 40 or 50, we could be surfing in Bali for 2 years on that money. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, looking at like other, break it out of the crypto space and just go, wow, I got 50. I still got my million there, but I got 50 grand, meet me in Barbados.
and think about this too. When you go to a bank and you're doing let's say a CD or something similar, it's probably 4.75 somewhere right
Okay.
around now.
Okay.
But you are stuck in that 3 month CD that you do. They do weird. They don't do like 3, 6, 12. It's like 3, and then the next one 7 month. You are stuck into that for that month. The thing with USDC, you could pull it in and out 100 times and buy something, put it back. You are in control. So when you're at a bank with the CD, you're stuck for the length of you sign up for, and if you take it out, you lose your interest.
Tell our audience real quick, what is USDC?
USDC is just it's like equivalent fiat to the dollar. So USD would be like if you went to Coinbase and you actually put your cash money in, and then you transfer it to USDC.
So that's the digital. The D represents the digital.
Yes, and then we could get into European, which probably advanced traders are going to use USDT, which is Tether, which will kind of introduced me to that years ago. That just pairs more into advanced trading than USDC, and that could be a whole nother topic we could do. And there's other ones too. There's DAI, DAI. There's which is Asian. There's other stable coins as well.
Okay, and those coins are kind of more, like the one is like Eurocentric, and the other one's like Asia centric, right? And then we have, I don't know, American centric, or you know what I mean, like, but it's global, right?
It is. I love what you brought up, Jeff, because the way to define what we're talking about, and you said it, it's stable coin, right? And what a stable coin represents is it's backed 1-to-1 to the US dollar, right? So as you mentioned, Joseph, it's just a digital dollar. It's how I get in and out of positions without having to do this list of sell your Bitcoin into the US dollar. Now you've got these transactions going from your bank to the exchange, whereas with the stable coin, I could sell it on the exchange like Coinbase, and then when I sell it into a stable coin, my money's stable. So if I sell and my profit and I made, $5,000 on that 10 grand we're talking about, well, the way to lock in those gains is to sell into the stable coin, because once Bitcoin drops below your exit point, instead of losing value, you're locking that value in on the exchange. And then when we were talking about the whole fear and greed, well, when the market dips and there's fear in the market, you can then redeploy that money back into the market. And it just makes it seamless, which is beautiful because we live in a technological world. And it seems like what crypto really is the solution for is moving money faster, because the current banking system right now, it takes way too much time, way too much paperwork.
Yeah. And the fact that you could be in the crypto space and end up going to another country and buying your house with it.
Exactly.
Gosh, I mean, it's just like what it's become or what it is or whatever is definitely something that's exciting in so many different reasons, but also volatile and, creates a certain amount of intrepidation for people that don't really understand it. But I do feel like there's tons of people that really do want to come in. As they come in, let me ask this question. Say, for instance, it really does land where new millions. I wonder how many people are. How about this question? I'm not saying any of you guys have the answer. If you do, awesome. But I wonder how many new people enter the crypto market as crypto virgins monthly.
That's a good question. And I think, and don't quote me on this, but there's such a small percent of people that are actually invested into the market, let alone another small percent of people that even know what crypto is. And I think that's the solution that we're providing and the value that we're providing to the audience is educating people because banks are already cleared and have been cleared to hold your crypto. So it's going to be the same thing, right? Just like with your US dollars. You're going to own crypto. The bank is going to hold onto it. There's going to be, I'm sure, some sort of insurance, right? Like the FDIC, which is what currently is happening within the banking system with the US
Right.
dollar,
Okay.
right? And we're not quite there yet.
Isn't that when they say your bank account is like insurable up to like 250 grand? Is that what you're talking about? That kind of thing?
Exactly.
But we don't
Exactly.
really have that yet for crypto.
We
But
don't. And
you believe maybe one day we will.
oh, I not even, it's a no-brainer to me. I've been
Oh,
in this space long enough to know that whether you agree or disagree with crypto, whether it resonates with you or doesn't resonate with you, it's being pushed on you, just
yeah.
like all other things that the world does.
Yeah.
Just like the internet, right? The internet,
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
10 decades ago, you know,
It was
what people were laughing.
it
Oh,
was
the
a
internet.
theory. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but we've seen it how it grows, and then with humans are a trip the way they kind of coagulate, the way humans kind of herd. We heard about that with the COVID whole thing. It was like herd mentality, the herd immunity. There's something to be said for like that whole thing, like from what I understand about the Great Depression of 29 and back in the Great Depression, that was really a thing of perception. And because so
Yeah.
many people, this is what it was explained to me. It was an interesting little story. Apparently, one of the Rockefellers was having his shoes shined, as that was the thing of the day back then. Businessmen would walk down the street and stop and sit and get their shoes shined. And one day, the shoe shiner kid, whatever, asked Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. Rockefeller, could you give me, some tips on what stocks to invest in? It's a shoe shiner trying to enter the market. And Mr. Rockefeller had a moment and went, "Oh, I." His advice to the shoe shiner was, "Don't invest in the market." And the shoe shiner got all pissed off and kind of got pretty ornery with him because he's like, "What do you mean? All you guys are, all you got big guys, rich guys are killing it, and you won't give me a little advice. I need to take my small amount and, I want to grow," because it had really been in a bull market, it had really been crushing it. Then all these people came in, which was cool, and it boosted everything up, which could happen with crypto. All these people come in, it increases the volume of the trading. And then something happens where a shift takes place, and all the new traders, all the immature, amateur traders, based on fear and perception, all pull out of fear. And it tanked it. And I'm not saying that was the only thing that caused the Great Depression, but it was a big thing. All these people pulled out of the market and it shot the market down. Our economy wasn't as diverse as now, so it just the whole thing tumbled down. So I guess the theory on the metaphorical learning from that story was supposedly something to do with when everyone jumps in, be careful, because perception could also one day make them all want to jump out. And that's when shit takes a hit. Could that similar scenario relate to crypto?
100%. That's actually what's happening today. And that's
Oh,
really cool to tie in the 1929 depression because that goes back to what I had mentioned earlier, right? The fear and the greed. So the question now becomes, what happened to all those people that actually invested into the market during that fearful time,
sheesh.
right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they are profitable, especially fast forward to today. And that's the beautiful thing about crypto, right? And that's why I love that it's blockchain, but chain block. All this information is public. So as all the retail is being scared out of the market, one of the many things I love about crypto is I can go look up World Liberty Finance. Well, who owns World Liberty Finance? Donald Trump. And you can see that As retail is selling their Ethereum, they're buying hundreds of millions of dollars. And the beautiful part tying this all together is we're talking about like Ethereum, right? Ethereum's the number two crypto by market cap. And what gives Ethereum value is all the different other cryptocurrencies that are actually built on that foundation. And what's freaking awesome, and that Jeff was touching on when he was talking about stable coins, is USDC, ladies and gentlemen, is built on Ethereum. Go do your own research and go find that BlackRock has invested. I know at one point it was like $400 million into this stable coin. And what you'll see in time is you'll start to pull these little puzzle pieces like I do, or like the Crypto Posse does, right? And then you could start to formulate, oh my gosh, this piece fits here and that piece fits there. So that by the time you see the fear or the 1929 depression, start to dollar cost average. And touching on what Mike had talked about, trading ranges, all Bitcoin is doing right now is filling out a gap in the trading range. When it hit its first high of 73 before the Bitcoin halving, and we'll get into that because that's a whole nother topic. And then it shot all the way up into the 90K range. So you have this gap between about 73 and 90K. We'll go look at the chart and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see that Bitcoin's only filling in a large gap where it just exploded through this price range and it's just coming back and filling it in.
This thing about, which brings to mind the subject about the Great Depression and what we're talking about, connecting it all this theory that it's not a theory, it's reality. But, the big boys kill it because they kind of manipulate the market, which is probably Rockefeller was sitting there knowing what he knew, telling the guy, hey, don't buy any. The guy got pissed, but he was giving him good advice because what he knew was the big boys were, making it fall because that's when they got all their money. They buy it low and then it goes up again and they make tons of money. So to some degree, you hear a lot about that where the guys that own big chunks are, I don't know if it's manipulating, but they're basically creating opportunity. All we need to do is be smart enough. And, you talk about this a lot, Will. You're a leader in our team of talking about this kind of thing of like understanding that. What's that saying you say, Will? Money, something.
Oh, I love this one. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Scared money doesn't make money.
Yes. That's the one I was talking about. That's an awesome. I should make a Crypto Posse bumper sticker with that, just because like it really is it's like an iconic saying or an iconic quote. But still, with that said, there's that part of this whole thing where these gnarly big guys. I mean, I think there was something to be said for recently. Didn't Trump and they did a coin and it went gank gank and there's a feeling like they were just sitting there kind of smiling as they knew. You put all this energy in front of all the minions or the rats and they're just, and then it drops and they just manipulate it. I don't know if it's really manipulation. I mean, it's their right to be able to do what they want to do. But for the smaller people like the shoe shiner connecting all the dots, he's over there going, man, what, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't the time. He was helping him out because the $20 he had saved, he was kind of telling him, don't do it right now. Save that. The guy was pissed because he knew understanding so much of the chunk of stock was going to take the dip. They sit there and buy it low. So all we got to do is do that too. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're
Follow the leader.
exactly.
Follow the leader, which brings me to Will. Categorically, now I want to ask you, Will, what do you got for us today? Because you got a lot for us because every topic that comes up, like the rock star that you are on our show, you have such awesome stuff to offer, all the topics. But I know you got one for us today too. So lay it on me, mister.
Matt, well, I appreciate your kind words, but we're a team here, right? I'm only sharing what I'm sharing because of what everybody's bringing to the table, right? And what I'm going to share today, it really transcends the crypto market because it's, in my view, it's not talked about enough. and it's mindset. And it goes back to fear and greed, right? So even using this depression example that we've been touching on, I don't hear depression. I hear opportunity.
Yeah. Oh my God. Love this guy, mister. Love this guy.
And that's a major shift. And why I just shared it transcends the market because you're doing one of two things. You're either living in lack or you're living in abundance, right? And what lack sounds like is I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Oh, I missed the opportunity. No, you didn't. If you transmute that energy into an abundant mindset, you're going to start looking at it like, oh man, that was an opportunity. Let's start looking for the next opportunity. And what you did touch on, Joseph, it's just facts. It is manipulation. And what I'm doing in the background is I'm studying to see the footprint of this manipulation on the chart. Once you see the footprint, you cannot unsee it.
Just incredible overall awareness of mindset. Get in your mind. It kind of taps what Mike was saying, whether you're, entry level, whether you're new, whether you're kind of interested, mindset, whether you're Jeff and, trading in the day and really, mid-level, like I think there's like Mike, who's kind of more beginner level. And there's me who's, no level. Okay. And then there's, and then there's Jeff, who I really feel like a mid-level. And then there's Will. I think you're out of the three, you're much more involved. You're much more aware, and all that mindset relates to everybody.
100%. And this kind of came to me in meditation, and I'm really grateful I get to share this with not just my friends, but the audience, because I'm going to speak a metaphor for a moment. Because your mind is a garden. It's fertile ground. Your thoughts, those are seeds. And your emotion, that's water, right? So be aware of the thoughts that you plant in your garden. Be aware of the energy because emotion means energy in motion. So when you're giving energy to these thoughts, what are you doing? You're cultivating that thought. You're growing that thought. Over time, what do you think you're doing within your mind? You're programming your subconscious to become your conscious action.
Whew. Oh my gosh, that makes sense to me on every level. That's incredible. Who's going to turn on to any crypto show and hear, Zen vibe, whole mindset consciousness stuff? I can't be more proud of what we're doing on this show, man. I'm all ears, Will. Keep it going.
Yeah, and literally, and I love Bruce Lee for this because there's a quote of him out there that says, "Don't joke about what you talk to yourself about." Right? And that plays into mindset because listening, that's a skill. And how many people are really listening to the words which represent energy coming out of your mouth, right? And it sounds like affirmation. So, talking about mindset, I like to start my day off with gratitude. That's the first seed I plant in my mind, and then I water that before my feet even touch the ground.
Beautiful.
It's like
Just
the power of positive thinking,
Absolutely.
exactly.
It's like the power of positive thinking with water on it and sunshine on it, coming to mindset, taking it to a next level to understand literally everything about our day, everything about our life, whether it be investing in crypto or everything we do, has at the base of it your mindset. Absolutely awesome point of view.
And what's really beautiful, and I love working with you guys. I love working with Jeff. We talk a lot in the background about trading. Well, as a trader, you got to listen to how you describe your experience, right? How are you talking to yourself as a trader? Because your body, your cells are going to respond to that energy. Like right now, how does my body know that I'm talking to different people or an audience? It doesn't. It's just going to reflect the words that are coming out of my mouth. So as a trader, I don't take losses. I take lessons. It's a big shift in mentality,
Yeah.
just that alone. Like, what do you
Yeah.
guys think about that?
Yeah. That's a mindset. Awesome. What do you guys think about that?
No, I just think that like Will touches on quite often is there's always going to be another opportunity, and I'm learning from his techniques and his mindset of just kind of understanding that the market's not going anywhere. You have to be patient and just wait for that other opportunity to come, because it will come definitely. And you can't get too jumpy. You can't, you know, I know Jeff likes to try to make money every day, and I would love to make money every day. So I'm trying to learn to be more patient and kind of find those moments that, you know, are the proper moments to get in the market and be profitable.
Yeah, for me, the last couple of weeks, I haven't done much trading. I've been a little under the weather, certain things, but I'm just not feeling it. So it's okay to take a break. There is some things I'm trying to get out of. I'm waiting for a little bump up in the market, maybe buy more when we get that little spike where my dollar cost average is better and get out. And kind of my plan is to restart, and I'm going to come back with a vengeance. I mean, I'm just going to go for it, especially when the market's giving it to me. Right now, there's a couple things, you could invest in, but it's kind of like, oh, well, this one up. It's just not enough for me. So now this is a good time, like Will say, this is the time where you relax and learn. And even just listening to Will, I mean, just from today, I'm already remembering to, what to do and what not to do, be positive. Just like I woke up this morning, water in the garage, flooded, flooded out from the water heater, and I talked to Will, and then, kid went off to school, and, just him talking with him for a minute just got me positive.
And
As
more
far as I'm
calm. And
concerned,
yeah.
yeah. So we all
Yeah.
have these things in our life, but we don't want to start our day out. We just, okay, we used to taking it, turn it into to being positive, and then good things happen. So, it's a good part of the show. Like we're all human. We're all going to have these natural feelings of everyday life. But it's so awesome when we talk on the show and the way Will talks about everything. It's just really gets me into that moment of just learning, to deal with things a little different and what's really important.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost kind of like, let me coin a phrase here, but tune into Crypto Posse because you might get a little crypto therapy.
Absolutely. That's pretty good.
I mean, it's another thing. Like, there's just that aspect of like the world's going through so much. Your country might be going so much. Your town, whatever's going on in your life, but it's really your mindset that's going to create your personal kind of psychological strategy that's going to keep you either kind of grooving through the highs and lows. Like you learn from people that say, don't get too happy when you're really killing it, and don't get too bummed when you're really not killing it. Try to manage your emotions in such a way where you're riding a wave, but it doesn't have to be so extreme. That strength, that conviction of knowing that there's another day. There's just another day. I relate it to surfing again, like we did last week. I mean, you paddle out. You might have a day where you're just like getting lots of waves and really on. You might have a day where you're really off and not getting many waves. Waves just aren't coming to you. Sometimes people paddle back in and watch. There's so much about watching. All of us surfers know. You watch. Some people just walk up to the beach, paddle out, don't even see what the sets are doing, where they're breaking, what the interval of time is, all the variables to do with mindset and strategy and attitude. So it's very similar. Crypto has this, I just kind of metaphorically do it with surfing, because you can really go get all bummed you didn't get the wave, but guess what? There's another one coming, man. Like, just relax,
That's a great point because, being a surfer as well, you want to see where the waves are breaking and, where the current's going and, how many people are on this one, and no two waves are the same. and no 2 days of surfing are the same. You have so
Just
many variables, wind,
just like
tide,
just like
people,
crypto.
just like crypto. Great point.
Wow. I mean, wow, this is, really cool how we're all tying this together into this whole vibe of, Will's topic today of mindset. I mean, there is not enough to be explored about that, but I really am glad to have our show kind of touch on these things that are a little broader than, particular trade methods. This is psychological. This is therapeutical. This is, I know this healer that he teaches this thing. Like if you go have him work on you, and you say, I got this problem, he will quickly say, no, it's a challenge. It's an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's a problem because you perceive it to be a problem. But when you perceive it to be a challenge and an opportunity to develop strength, to develop flexibility, to develop an attitude that means that it's no longer a problem, just by saying it, by switching the words from problem to challenge, you've already altered how you're feeding your mind.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Just
I actually
awesome stuff.
learned that when I was 21. So that was about 20 years ago. And
Okay.
I learned it from successful people. I learned it by investing into myself and putting myself in very uncomfortable situations, which are big rooms full of a bunch of people. But that was something that stuck with me. And I love that you touched on it. And they said, change the P to a C, change the problem to a challenge, exactly what you just shared. So that it's really cool how everything really is tying together from what Jeff touched on, what Mike's touching on, what you're bringing to the table. And it really is full circle. And that's why I use the word transcend, because it's not just about investing. It's about what we're talking about. It's all in your mind. It's all in your perception. And you get to change that. Change is one choice away. It might seem like it's some really long, far distant goal, but it's just one choice away. And then you build on that and you ground to that, and your life literally changes. I went from saying words, and I'll only use this as an example because I don't like using this word, broke. When I used to say that, what do you think my reality was? It was broke.
You were broke. Oh my
But
God.
then I changed broke to abundant. And during COVID, well, fear literally was global. You know what I was doing? I was going against the grain. There's a freeway that we all know of here in California. It's the 91 freeway.
Whew.
It stresses people out.
God. It's
But
just a coagulated,
dude,
yes.
it's like it's a shit show
Oh my God. The
all the
91
time.
is like, oh, the 91. Oh my God. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I have a feeling you're going to bring something to the table about your attitude while being on the 91.
Dude, I faced fear. They were telling everybody, don't drive unless if you're an important employee. Guess what I told myself? I'm an important employee. So I found myself on that freeway, and I was the only, not even fucking joking here. I was the only one car on that freeway.
Oh my God. At what time of day?
One during the day when
Oh
there
my
would be
God.
traffic any other time, and you could
Oh
look
my
this up.
gosh. That's insane. So it's cool. You were on the 91 doing 91 miles an hour. Anyway. Because you never get to do that on the 91. You're on the 91, you're doing, 21. I mean, it's insane. It's such a coagulated artery. But that's rad. That puts you in the spot of like being a leader and not a follower.
Exactly. And by being a leader and changing my mindset, we live in the material world, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So you plant gratitude, changes your life. You stop using words like broke. You shift and start using words like abundant. Well, abundance has gifted me opportunities to rent Ferraris and McLarens and Lamborghinis and jewelry and traveling, all because I chose to take a deep breath for a moment. And what I realize is this: I don't focus on the things I cannot control.
Oh
I
my
could
God. That's the one of the most wise. That is, oh my God. That nugget,
wasted energy.
ladies and gentlemen, nuggets are dropping on Crypto Posse here today. Oh my gosh. Just Nugget City, right? It's Nugget City. Anyway, sorry, Will, go ahead.
No, no, you're good. I love that you're adding to what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
And literally, it went from one lifestyle to another lifestyle. And the things that I can control is this: I can control how I think, believe it or not. I can control how I feel, believe that or not. Right? So if something bad happens, you think I'm just gonna revert to what I've been told to think and feel? No, I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna take a step back. I'm going to ask myself, how do I want to feel about this situation? And think, feel, and the last one is act. I can control how I act. Just because people act like knuckleheads doesn't mean that I have to act like a knucklehead, right? And you are who you hang around. So if you're going to hang around with knuckleheads, what do you think you're going to be?
Heard this my whole life, man. I mean,
Right?
I grew up with parents, and everyone's parents was, you are who you hang around, and if you had a friend that was kind of sketchy, your parents would be like, you're going to be like him. And you're like, no, I'm not. And they're like, yeah, you are. But fortunately for me, I've always had friends around me like you guys. So, I mean, I'm really blessed in that department. I got to say, ever since I was a little kid, just my buddies were good people. I think I've always gravitated toward good people. But then once in a while, someone shows up to the party and they kind of come off like they are, and you're vulnerable to those people because they're not really who they seem. But in time, character shines one way or the other. We surround
Facts.
ourselves with good people, man. Bottom line, that's a very, very good thing. Not even crypto, just life. Beautiful
Well,
stuff.
that again, it ties into crypto, right? If I'm going to hang out with traders that are not profitable, what do you think I'm going to be? A
Losing your money,
non-profitable.
mister. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but on the other side of it, you hang out with like-minded individuals who, feed their mind with nourishing water and enjoy some sunshine, and also think positive, and realize all the things we talked about today, like there's another day, don't get all stressed out about it. I mean, it's hard to do, it's easy to say, but putting it into practice is a big thing. So I'm just feeling really good about what we're doing here at Crypto Posse. Will, were you going to mention something today? I heard we were talking to maybe something about, isn't there something going on tomorrow and something you want to touch on real quick before we end the show today?
So tomorrow, Wednesday, is an FOMC meeting. And what that is it's the Federal Reserve. His name is Jerome Powell. He's going to speak in front of the world. And whatever this man talks about, he moves markets. And what I'm currently seeing, again, going back to the puzzle piece theory, is I'm seeing so the people at the top, they're playing chess. The people at the bottom, they're playing checkers. So it comes down
Oh my
to,
God.
okay, well, Trump is playing chess with the Federal Reserve, which are two separate entities. And Trump coming to office was pushing to lower interest rates, which is going to affect everybody in the US on the price of gas, food, rent. And what the Fed is doing is they're playing hardball, right? So I think that the markets are being manipulated to the downside, going back to mindset, opportunity, because he's forcing them to lower interest rates. So tomorrow is a huge day for anybody who's new to investing, new to trading. Definitely stay out of the market because it's a very volatile time. And what I'm going to be looking for is even if they pause rates, that's okay, just as long as they don't raise rates. Because if they raise rates, I think that we're going to see more downside. But if they pause rates, let's listen to the verbiage that Jerome Powell is speaking about, because that's going to influence the market moving forward. And instead of speculating on what I think is going to happen, let's touch on this topic in the next episode and we'll review what was said, the verbiage, because it's very important to listen to what he's saying, because it's all about not what you say, it's how you say it.
And where will he be saying this at? Via what portal will the world be able to listen to this man, Jerome Powell?
So if you go and you just type in FOMC meeting, and it'll come up with a link. It's a .gov type website, and
Okay.
you could tune into and listen to it live.
Via
See,
a website. It's not like he's on it's not like he's giving a presidential address or anything. I mean, it's not on TV. It's on the
it
internet.
is.
Oh,
It's on the well. Okay, so yes,
it's on the internet.
It's on the internet.
Yeah. It's not
And
on
you
Channel
wanna-
4. I mean, it's like it's not like that,
It'll
right?
be all over the news later.
Later it'll be all over the news, but
Yeah.
live, live it's available on the internet. Just type it in and it'll take you wherever it takes you, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, great stuff. That'll be fun for us next week to kind of look back and have a great topic. I'm sure you want to take next week is to check out what happened, because here we are today, the day before, predicated on who knows what, thinking something may be this way or that way, but we don't have a crystal ball, right? And that's what makes life exciting, right? The fear of, it could be fear. I love the mystery of life. That's kind of one of my biggest things ever since I was a little kid. I could notice everyone wanted all these plans. I mean, I would wake up in the morning and run out the door to go see my best friend, Danny Boy, lived across the street. And my mom and my sister, my family be like, ask me, like, when I was a little kid, I was Joey. And they'd be like, Joey, where are you going? I go, I'm at the front door about to run out, going, how would I know that? Like, what do you mean? Where am I going? I'm going to Danny Boy's house and we're going to figure it out. Because what I realized is everyone wanted a plan. And I never had a plan. I just wanted to run out the door and see what life brought me, right? And I'm still that way at this stage of my life. I've done that whole thing, really embracing the mystery of the day, having personal freedom so I could let my instincts guide me instead of like, I'm 9 to 5 and at 12 I get my lunch, and it's just the whole, and that's great for people that need that structure. That's great. But if I needed that structure, we wouldn't be here today where my production company was able to produce Crypto Posse. That came from that spirit. That came from that, like, live in the moment, not a problem, but it's a challenge. Everything we've talked about today is what brought us together. This whole cosmic reality of here we are doing this show, which just kind of organically just sprouted out of our reality. And now we get to share it with the world potentially. So I just really want to say to you guys, thanks again for showing up. Here it is, another episode of Crypto Posse. And I mean, what an episode we're dropping today, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you hit the likes and the followers, hit the comments, hook us up. We'll hook you up. Hey, just so you guys know, we now have Crypto Posse t-shirts. Okay. So if you want to check any out, let us know. I got them coming to the boys. They're getting their first, it should be tomorrow. You guys are getting yours. And, we'll be doing more designs coming. And we just want to say thanks again for tuning in to Crypto Posse 2025. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you guys soon.